Let's start at the beginning. Bulbasaur made its grand entrance in the original Pokemon Red and Green games way back in Japan on February 27, 1996. It holds the esteemed title of being the very first Pokemon in the pokedex, with the number 0001. While the other starters in Red, Blue, and Green had one type, Bulbasaur was dual typing of grass and poison. Bulbasaur's nickname is the Seed Pokemon. This Pokemon can survive for days on sunlight alone, and it absolutely loves soaking up rays while it takes a nap. As it naps, the seed on its back soaks in those rays and uses them to grow. Bulbasaur's Japanese name, Fushigidane, comes from the words for mystery, Fushigi, and seed, Tane, reflecting its unique nature. Ever wonder who's the creative genius behind Bulbasaur's unique look? Well, it's Atsuko Nishida, the same artist who designed Pikachu, Glaceon, Sylveon, and the coveted Pikachu Illustrator Pokemon card. Surprisingly, Bulbasaur's design was inspired by its mid-evolution, Ivysaur, which makes it even more special. And, by the way, in case you didn't know, all three Kanto starters were designed in reverse order, with Venusaur being the very first Pokemon. So even though Bulbasaur's Pokedex number is 0001, technically, Ivysaur and Venusaur existed before Bulbasaur did. Unless you've been living under a rock and you haven't noticed, Bulbasaur has a huge fan following. There are entire fan clubs dedicated to this charming Pokemon on social media. Also, before I continue, if I missed anything important in this video, or if you want a part 2, subscribe and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, let's talk about Bulbasaur's stardom in the Pokemon anime. It played a central role in Ash Ketchum's team during the first season. May had her own unique Bulbasaur, known for having hearts on its forehead. Plus, fun fact, it was the first time ever one of Ash's friends caught a Pokemon Ash had previously owned. Bulbasaur obviously isn't just in the anime, it's also in games like Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, X, Y, and even the Pokemon Sword and Shield expansions in the Isle of Armor. This green gem pops up in more places than you think it would. Bulbasaur's versatility doesn't stop there. It's a part of various Pokemon manga series and even made an appearance in the live-action movie Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Bulbasaur isn't just a star on the screens, it's also a merchandise sensation. You can get Bulbasaur toys, plush dolls, and even action figures. It's been in fast food chain promotions and even on the side of an ANA Boeing 767. In 2021, luxury watches inspired by Bulbasaur were created by Seiko. This seems obvious. Bulbapedia, the famous Pokemon wiki, got its name from Bulbasaur. This Pokemon has earned praise from both critics and fans for its appearance, especially in the Pokemon anime. Now it's time to get into the real deep stuff about Bulbasaur that I know you guys don't know. So, let's start. Ash Ketchum, the main character in the Pokemon anime, has a special bond with Bulbasaur. Among all the Pokemon he's owned, Bulbasaur holds the distinction of being with Ash the longest, second only to Pikachu. It began when Ash was offered 3 starter Pokemon by Professor Oak. He initially chose Pikachu but later captured Bulbasaur in episode 10 of the anime series titled Bulbasaur and the Hidden Village. This episode marked the first time Ash encountered a group of wild Bulbasaurs and formed a close bond with one that refused to evolve. This Bulbasaur joined Ash's team and has remained in his possession ever since. Bulbasaur had a game that was never released in the West, Pokemon Green, as you guys may know. The reason for not releasing the game was actually due to the game's extensive glitches and errors. In Japan, Pokemon Green was launched along Pokemon Red as one of the franchise's initial 2 games. However, this game was rendered with numerous technical issues, rendering it almost unplayable. Some of these glitches were so severe that they could actually crash the game or swiftly skip to the end credits within just 3 minutes. In response to those problems, Nintendo released Pokemon Blue in Japan, an updated version that featured improved sprite art, altered music, and attempted to patch some of the game's major flaws. Despite these efforts, the game still fell short of the Western gaming standards, and as a result, it was never made available outside of Japan. It was not until the release of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green that Bulbasaur's game finally made its way to the US. These remakes stayed true to the original Japanese versions, offering Western fans a chance to experience Bulbasaur's charm and appeal in a polished and fully playable game. Bulbasaur has a surprising history in the Pokemon franchise. Nintendo once prohibited the trading of Bulbasaurs in its black and white games due to concerns about offensive language and inappropriate content in the game's online trading system. Nintendo's worries stem from the potential for players to use the trading system to send crude or offensive messages by naming their Pokemon something inappropriate before initiating a trade. To combat this issue, Nintendo implemented a censorship system to ban specific words or phrases that could be considered offensive. However, managing the censorship across different languages and cultures proved to be significantly challenging. As a result, Nintendo decided to block all trades of English language Bulbasaurs in its black and white games unless the Pokemon had been given a nickname. This measure aimed to prevent players from using the name Bulbasaur to bypass the game's filters and insert inappropriate content. I don't really know what bad words you could really put inside of Bulbasaur to make it inappropriate, but if you guys have any ideas, drop them below. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for that, but you guys should do that because I'm not going to do that. According to fan compiled data, Bulbasaur ranks as the third most frequent character in the series, surpassed only by Pikachu and Meowth. Bulbasaur's appeal goes beyond its battling prowess, attributed to its unique combination of grass and poison type moves. Its distinctive qualities in both battle and appearance set it apart from other creatures in the series. It's not just about its abilities. Bulbasaur is cherished for its friendly and loyal personality. Fans may recall Ash's Bulbasaur, a key character in the early season of the show. Even after Ash released it back into the wild, Bulbasaur continued to make appearances in later seasons, sometimes under the ownership of other trainers or playing a supporting role in various storylines. In the Pokemon world, glitches and errors are not uncommon, and one intriguing anomaly is the invisible, shiny Bulbasaur. This is actually new information to me, and I didn't know this before making this video. This peculiar glitch Pokemon has piqued the interest of Pokemon enthusiasts due to its distinctiveness and unusual behavior. The invisible, shiny Bulbasaur is a glitch Pokemon that makes appearances in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. What sets it apart is its lack of visible sprite. Despite its invisibility, it retains the sparkling effect characteristic of shiny Pokemon, catching the eye of players. To add to its enigmatic nature, it emits the cry of a Bulbasaur. One of the most fantastic aspects of this glitch Pokemon is its inability to use any moves. It doesn't conform to the typical behavior of a Pokemon, rendering it unusable in battles or for any other purpose. This had led to speculation among gamers about its purpose and whether it was intentionally included by the game developers. If you know about this glitch and you've used it in battle, I'm curious, what happens if you try using it in a battle, because it can't use any moves. Despite its limitations, the invisible shiny Bulbasaur has become a sought-after collectible for many players. Its rarity, unique appearance, and status as a glitch Pokemon contribute to its fascination. While Bulbasaur is one of the most popular and recognizable Pokemon, its first appearance in an English language Nintendo product wasn't in the original Pokemon games. Instead, it made its debut in the Game Boy Camera. Game Freak, the developer behind Pokemon, was simultaneously working on both the original Pokemon games and the world's smallest mass-produced digital camera, called the Game Boy Camera. The Game Boy Camera was loaded with Easter eggs for players, including stamps featuring sprite art of their favorite Pokemon. Bulbasaur was among these sprites, making its first appearance in an English-language Nintendo product as a hidden extra in the Game Boy Camera. What makes this even more intriguing is the Game Boy Camera was released in the US market a few months before Pokemon Red and Blue. This meant that American players had access to the device before other players around the world. So while Bulbasaur may have been a mystery to gamers in the US at the time, it offered a sneak peek of what was to come with the Pokemon franchise. Bulbasaur has been a source of intrigue when it comes to its gender. Despite its enduring presence in the Pokemon universe, the TV shows has never explicitly stated Bulbasaur's gender. The one exception to this is when Ash referred to Bulbasaur as a he in the first episode it appears. However, fans are divided on whether this can be considered definitive proof, as Ash isn't always knowledgeable about Pokemon biology, especially in the 10th episode of the anime series. The reference to Bulbasaur's gender doesn't occur in the Japanese show. Still, there are subtle hints in other episodes, like Island of the Giant Pokemon, where Ash's Pokemon communicates with subtitles. In this episode, Bulbasaur uses the personal pronouns ore, typically used by males. Despite these hints, there remains no clear reference to Bulbasaur's gender throughout the entire cartoon series. This has sparked much speculation and debate among fans, with some believing that it may be male, others considering it female, and some arguing that Bulbasaur might be genderless like other Pokemon in the franchise. I personally don't believe it can be genderless, it has to be a boy or a girl. Based on this knowledge, we can just assume that it's a boy. Junichi Masuda, a prominent figure in the Pokemon franchise and a key member of the Game Freak development studio, has had a significant impact on shaping the iconic series. He began his career as a sound composer for the original Pokemon games and has since taken on roles as director and producer for more recent releases in the series. When asked about his favorite among the original 3 Pokemon starters, Masuda revealed that he had a special affection for Bulbasaur. His fondness for Bulbasaur is rooted in the Pokemon's charming yet resilient design, blending cuteness and strength to create a unique and endearing character. Masuda had an enjoyable time composing the cries for Bulbasaur and its evolution, Ivysaur. He meticulously transformed the relatively cute cry he composed for Bulbasaur into a deeper, louder, and more menacing sound for Ivysaur. This attention to detail showcases Masuda's dedication to the franchise and sets him apart as a composer. With that being said, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This was Bulbasaur, Pokemon number 0001. Next week, I'll be working on Pokemon number 0002, Ivysaur, and I would love to have you along for the ride. I'm going to be doing every single Pokemon in the Pokedex, starting with Bulbasaur, all the way up to the final and last Pokemon in the Pokedex. So make sure sure you're following, and make sure you comment below if you liked this video, what more you wanted to learn about, and if there's anything important that I may have missed about this cute and lovable seed Pokemon Bulbasaur. Either way, love you big dogs, hope you have a great day, peace.